Hello, YouTube friends. Today I wanted to share a dream, not of my own, but of a pastor called Dana Coverstone. And I shall be referring you to his channel because I strongly feel that his dream was given to him by the Holy Spirit. And I urge you to look up his channel and to listen to him as he describes his dream. Actually, he had three, but the one that I have watched is about the coming persecution. In Matthew chapter 24, verse 9, we shall read, "Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. And then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another." Indeed, I got a lot of name calling and slandering after I put my testimony of being now an ex-Catholic and now that I've become a born-again Christian. I realized that this is a form of persecution. And in verse 13 we read, "But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved." And I included this verse here because whilst I was listening to this pastor recounting his dream, this verse 13, kept playing in my mind over and over again. "But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved." Let us go and have a listen to this pastor's dream. I will not be playing the entire video clip, but you can look him up.
Hi there, my name's Dana Coverstone, and I pastor Living Word Ministries, Assembly of God Church in Burkesville, Kentucky. We're 12 miles north of the Tennessee line. I've been a pastor for almost 30 years, been at this church almost 10 years this October. Been in 3 different places in ministry in that 30 years, averaging about 10 years, 9.5, 10 years, each place. But the reason for this video right now is I had another dream last night. I posted three that I'd had earlier this week, and I have been absolutely overwhelmed. Almost 11,000 people have watched that. I had no clue it would go that far. I was just trying to say something to our people here locally and those that knew me. But I do believe God has spoken to me and showed me through some dreams some things that are coming. The one I had last night, I got up somewhere in the neighborhood of 3:30, 3:35, and just got my iPhone out and made notes as fast as I could. I do believe that this is something that we're on the precipice of, and perhaps has even started, and it deals with persecution of the church that's coming. And there was a surprising twist for me in it, and I want to share this. I don't want to keep doing dreams all the time. I'd rather not have the dreams I've had because there's a lot of responsibility with them. And one of the consequences of dreams, just like Daniel got sick. He was tired, he was exhausted. These things have played with my mind all this week, all day long. All I can think about is what I saw and heard last night. I work part-time at the local hospital, so I had to be at work at 5:30 this morning. Just got off about 2. So I wanted to get this on video format so I can share it tomorrow and put it on our YouTube channel as well. Look, I've never pastored a church larger than 150 people. I've never made a whole lot of money ever as a pastor. And I mostly pastored in rural communities. Terre Haute was the largest city I've ever pastored in. Our county has about 7,200 people. I grew up in a town of about 1,500 in Jasonville, Indiana. So I don't have a whole lot of big city connections or things like that, and that's not what this is about either. God has given me dreams that I believe are warnings, and this one specifically is for the church. I don't have a time frame on this one, but I'm gonna just tell you what what I experienced, and then you can, once again, with the video I showed the other day, you can judge anything you want about this, because I'm not trying to make money. I'm not trying to get connections. I'm not trying to get more followers or people to be on Facebook friends. I know I've heard from the Lord. I know what his voice sounds like. I know when I have dreams that are from him. And I know this was from him. So in the dream, I was standing over a field, or looking down on a valley, and there was a large field, and there was a bunch of wolves in this field. And I'm looking at notes on my off of my phone on my computer, so I can make sure I get all the valid points in that I need to make. All these wolves were in this field, and they were asleep. And there were hundreds, perhaps even thousands of wolves, all dark gray, not black, but just dark gray and menacing wolves. And they were all sleeping, and they were nuzzling each other and just kind of laying around, and no movement at all. And suddenly, somebody on a very dark figure began running into the middle of all those wolves, and with it looked like a whip, began to whip all those wolves. And the wolves began to wake up, and they were shrieking and making horrible noises. They were waking up to being hurt. And as I watched, the person with the whip just kept whipping them, and he kept basically stirring them into a frenzy. He wasn't beating them on purpose. He was beating them into a frenzy. He was making them mad. He was infuriating them. He was trying to get them stirred up. And he kept whipping. And every single animal, every single wolf that was in that area had been hit by the man. But they weren't hurting him. They showed some respect of him. They showed some fear of him. Obviously, he was like a master. And so, as he kept whipping these wolves, the wolves finally kind of cowered down, and he stopped. And he pointed his finger, and he turned around, almost like if I would put my finger, he just spun in a circle, and he said, "Go to the cities." And those wolves took off in every single direction possible, howling, top of their lungs, taking off. And the sky is dark. I don't remember if I saw a moon. I just know it was a dark night, a dark sky, a dark figure, dark wolves, and now they're being set loose. And these things are being sent to the cities after being whipped and beaten by whoever it was that was stirring them up. So, next scene changes, and I'm standing in front of almost like a monitor, a video screen of hundreds of TV sets, or just hundreds of computer screens. And I'm watching men and women of God, pastors, black, white, Asian, Indian, all around the world. And I saw myself, and we're all preaching a gospel. And each one of us is sweating. And there's almost like steam coming off of our heads. It shows just the impact of what we're trying to make. And we're preaching hard, and we're teaching hard. And we're teaching biblical principles and dealing with some of the major issues and things like that in culture. But we're calling people to righteousness and holiness, and to give up ungodly things that are part of their lives. And as I'm doing this, and as I'm preaching, and I'm watching all these other men and women preach, I see people in the chairs, in the pews, in the seats. And some are looking at their watches, and some are yawning, and some have their heads on the back of the chair, the pew, and they're asleep. Others are just, you can tell, uncomfortable. They don't want to be there. I see people walking out the back doors. But compared to that, I also see, at the front of the church, I see a handful. And I'm going to call it a core. I will not use the word remnant, because when I think of the word remnant, I think of that applying specifically to the Jewish people. But there was a small core group in every church I saw where the gospel was being preached, a small core group of people who were emphatically listening, emphatically supporting their pastors, who were preaching, who were supporting the doctrine, the teaching, the ideas that were coming out from these men and women of God. And they were kneeling in prayer, and they were praying, and they were supportive, but they weren't necessarily unaware of what was going on around them. But they knew there were people that weren't paying attention. And I could see that they were also praying for those in the chairs behind them who weren't listening. And all of the ones that weren't listening were behind those who were at the altar. There were some at the altar. There were some in the front couple chairs and rows and pews. But for the most part, there was a gap between those that were really listening and paying attention and those that weren't. And suddenly, in the midst of all this preaching and the people being sweaty from the intensity of the message they were preaching, suddenly the howling of wolves lands outside, and you suddenly hear scratching at the door, like a dog trying to get in or a dog trying to get out. And at that moment, The people who were up front, close to the pastor and close to the altar, began to turn around, and they were aware that someone was at the door, and they began to intensely pray, just intensively pray and aggressively pray against the enemy, against the spirit that was at the door. And suddenly the door didn't burst open, but the wolves just began to come in. And they began to walk around. They walked up and sniffed some of the people who were just listening. And the people who weren't listening at all really had no idea that they were there at all. Now, when the wolves came in, one key aspect, I don't know if I said it or not, all of these wolves had red eyes. When they woke up and were being stirred into fury, they had ravenous red eyes, almost like a red LED light. It shone out. It was like when you take a picture of an animal or someone and the red in their eyes shows up. It was that.
So I'm going to stop it right there. As you noticed, he said that the wolves slipped in. They didn't just barge in. And that's how wolves operate. They wait until they find you at a very vulnerable moment, and then they seize the opportunity and they attack. It's time for the persecution to intensify, and the two witnesses must endure that persecution. And as I already told you, those who endure till the end, as we read in Matthew 24, verse 13, those who endure till the end, the same shall be saved. I believe this pastor's dream video, his video is around 20 minutes long, so we played half of it here. But I strongly urge you to listen to the entire dream, because it is definitely prophetic and it's definitely from the Lord. It's a warning to us in the church. And also, I hope that you share this dream, his dream, and subscribe to his channel. May God bless you all.